Hey, I just wanted to give you some feedback on the research paper that I had you write. And the first thing I want to do is spend just a minute and go over the research prompt. So the idea of this research paper was not just to research a topic and then present it in a paper with good sources, etc. What we really wanted to do was research a conflict and then present that, because this will be the topic that you will then use on your next paper. So the idea behind this was that you would build the background, understand it, so that you could transition easily enough into your next paper and not have to worry about all the research for it. So if we come down here, for your research paper, these are the points that I want to talk about in your paper right now and give you feedback on. So what started the conflict and any potential historical background? What are the issues of opposing sides or groups? How do these issues prevent resolve? And then what does each side, or how does each side or group frame the conflict? What currently prevents opposing sides or groups from resolving the conflict? And then, of course, what happens while the conflict goes unresolved? So these are the points that I kind of wanted you to hit in your paper. And so let's take a look at your paper itself. So first of all, I want to say that I really like your topic. I think your topic is good. You did what a lot of other students didn't do, and that was hit on something that was very personal and local, so something within your own family, okay? And it is something that other families experience and go through, so this is probably something that is worthwhile talking about, in my opinion, so something that other people could learn from, really. So I like that you talked about the stress for adolescents in high school, and then you talked about the situation with your younger brother and how his parents are trying to help them. So in here, I kind of you gave some background. You talked about the topic before you talked about the example, which I thought was good. It's another way of doing it rather than talking about the example first and then going into the topic. So you gave some good background. You talked about it. And then, you say it's proven that adolescents are more prone to procrastination and poor decision making. So this kind of narrows down exactly what we're talking about as far as your younger brother is concerned. And then you give some quotes which support this. And then right here, right in here, you start talking about your example. And you say, I have a younger stepbrother named Daniel. He is about to finish his first year of high school this May. He seemed to have a bit of trouble getting through the school year, and so my dad and stepmom have been trying to help him. He has trouble staying focused and working on his homework. He may not even turn it in. Our parents have got him a tutor and asked about school whenever they can, but it is still a struggle. Okay, so I think that the idea for this paper is to talk about this exactly. So what I would like to see you do is expand this maybe into a couple paragraphs. So one of the notions, or one of the ideas within the prompt was to, what are the issues of opposing sides or groups? Okay, so we see that right here. We want to know about that. And this paragraph, I think, begins to touch on that, but just ever so briefly. It really wasn't enough. So I would like to see you expand that and talk more about your brother, more about his experience, maybe interview him, talk to him, see why this is happening, and then talk about your parents on the other side. Interview them, and then talk to them and see their point of view, because part of it is, part of the prompt is also, how does each side or group frame the conflict? Okay, so obviously there's a problem here. Both sides know about it. What is he seeing that they're not seeing? What are they seeing that he's not seeing? So what are the thoughts that are connected to this conflict? Okay, so that we want to talk more about that. you did kind of go in and talk about your own experience with you and your brother about procrastination. I think you might um, talk more about this before you talk about the actual example that you give about your younger brother and the conflict, okay? And then lastly, I don't really see what currently prevents the opposing sides from resolving the conflict. So you don't really talk about that. And what happens while the conflict goes unresolved? Well, I think that that is intuitive, but it would be good to see that written down on paper because that's part of the research, part of the background that I would like to know. Um, and then really what issues prevent resolve. Okay, so what's standing in the way? I think that this is a big point that's kind of missing from your paper. Like we talk about it, you touch on it just a little bit, but we don't really know for sure. So I think that you need to talk about what's standing in the way, okay? Because this is going to be important for the next paper because you're going to want to propose ideas for mediation and how to get two groups to come together. And so during the research process, we need to know what's standing in the way of these two groups coming together and finding some kind of resolve. Um, Lastly, I would like to discuss the conclusion paragraph. I feel like it's just an ever so brief restating of um, what you've talked about. I feel like it should definitely be longer. I feel like you could do a better job reiterating the conflict that's happening with your parents and your brother, and then talking about, you know, the things in the prompt, like what's standing in the way, and what happens if it doesn't go, or what happens if it goes unresolved. And so I think that these are ideas that you could put better into this concluding paragraph. And then you do have some MLA problems here. Not big or too bad to fix. Like somehow this ended up in the let's see, in the heading, in the header, so that doesn't need to be there. And then the page number should be further up. And then I think I did ask for 4 to 5 pages, and you just barely hit on 3. So I would like to see you fix that, which I think you can do. Like you definitely have more material and more conflict if you go and expand this idea right here. These two ideas. This is where the heart of our paper is. Develop this into bigger, multiple paragraphs, and I think that you'll be able to hit 4 pages without a problem. So that's really all that I have to comment on. If you have any questions, please email me or feel free to speak to me during my office hour. I'd love to go over it more with you. But just briefly, I think these are the thoughts that are running through my head. I hope it was helpful to you. And I think you got a great paper started. And it's going to make for a good final paper. You've got a great conflict. I just love the idea of doing this. And I think we just expand the idea of the conflict a little bit, talk more about it, and you will be good to go. So thank you very much, and I hope this was helpful. And again, feel free to talk to me if you have any questions.